something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn, nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Every time we stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
The next part is the most difficult part that I've ever discussed with anybody. The only person I've discussed it with was the VA psychiatrist, which was recommended to me by another veteran who had similar situations while I was looking at the wall in Temecula. He had recommended me to go to the VA and discuss this and get this off my mind. Try to end the confusion in my brain. It's a burden that I've lived with for the last 50 years, basically. Guthrie had just left. We returned to Gela and we assembled on a bunker. Mathias started talking about what was going to happen in the next coming days. He had mentioned that Guthrie had left and who was going to replace Guthrie. He was thinking it would be a lieutenant from the SI-1, but we weren't quite sure. Or he might have taken over because he's a staff sergeant, but he wasn't quite sure. He also talked about we needed more replacements. He mentioned getting new recruits to fill out the unit. I had mentioned Bruce Edwards from Charlie Company Mike Platoon, who would fill in perfectly with our unit, and I can vouch for him. And Mathias said, good, we need another one, at least one more right now, because we're waiting on two more of our guys to return, and that was Bergie and Doc Welter. So those were the two we were waiting on. Headquarters had given us an order to replace a shape charge on the northwestern end of Gela. They also gave us instructions to provide a representative or volunteered to man a listening post on the eastern end of Gela. A listening post is basically an area where, outside of the perimeter, in case there's a ground attack, the person out there can give you advance warning. So in a normal situation, usually we pull straw, the low man gets to go out on the perimeter at the listening post. So what happened was somebody had mentioned that Pineapple was the new guy and he should go to the listening post. And I said, okay, I can do that. So they gave me the radio. I went to the eastern end of Gela with my radio to the listening post. The others were to fix the shape charge on the northwestern end. About an hour later, I heard an explosion on the outside perimeter where they were setting up the shape charge. I called into headquarters saying they might be incoming or there might be a ground attack because there was an explosion. They informed me to stand tight. Everybody's on alert right now. So I waited. And about 2 minutes later, they called me and stated, your unit has been in an accident. Come on in. Got the radio. I went in. As I was going in, things are racing through my mind. When I got inside the perimeter, I hurried as fast as I could looking for my guys because I didn't know how many people were hurt. I asked, have you seen Recon? And all of a sudden, my mind went blank. I could not think of their names, their faces, and I didn't know where I was after a while because I was in a confused state of mind. There was a carnage of bodies, pieces, and disarray on the whole perimeter. I was looking for my guys. I finally asked somebody, Have you seen anybody in camouflage fatigues like mine? Because I was in daze, I was confused, I had anxiety, but I was looking and I saw pieces of flesh in the concertina wire. I had body pieces scattered on the ground, also pieces of paper. Identification was on the ground. So I started help cleaning up because other people were cleaning up after them. And to the corner of my eye, there was a chopper inside of Gela, and they were loading up at least one body into the chopper. But I'm not quite sure because as I was trying to figure it out later on, how could a chopper land inside a Gela? Because there's bunkers, there's 155 howitzers. So I was kind of confused at that time, but I shook it off. I started helping people gather the body parts, and still confused, looking for my guys. I was still looking for my guys. I could not find anybody. And I started thinking, should I start calling their names? But I couldn't figure out who it was. I couldn't figure out my guys' names. It was wiped out of the slate of my mind. Total confusion, total confusion. From what I understand, what had happened that day while I was out in the listening post, it was determined that the static electricity caused when the 155 howitzer fired around near or over where they're putting in the safe charge. So Recon, my guys, were around the safe charge putting in a blasting cap when the 155 sent a round into the area, into the air, and the static electricity from the howitzer to the blasting cap set up the shape charge. All 8 members were around the shape charge when it happened. I went back there the next day to see how this could have happened, because the howitzer is close inside Gela. There are about 4 or 5, I think 6 howitzers there, and the one closest to where the scene was could have set off the electricity, static electricity to set off the safe charge. But a week earlier, we had incoming mortar rounds, and the next day, the Claymore mines were set around towards us. So I was trying to figure out if somebody had tampered with the safe charge, because it could have happened with the howitzer, or somebody might have tampered with the safe charge to set it off. But that's all speculation. But I did look at the scene. I did look at where the howitzer was located. It was undeterminable what happened. So I just left it at that and went back to the headquarters and tried to figure out what we're going to do. And so in the next couple of days, while I was trying to put all these things together, all my mind, all this confusion, and trying to figure out if anybody had survived, because at that time I didn't know if anybody had survived. I just know that my guys were not there. I was later informed that all 8 were killed. 2 had survived up for a brief time, but they finally passed away up in Lai Khe, I think in the hospital or wherever they took them. But I was there and nobody else was there, so I was waiting for the other 2 individuals to come back, which was Bergie and Doc Welter, to come back. So I was in a situation in no man's land. All of a sudden I was in Charlie Company 4 days ago. Now I was in Recon, no unit. Even though at that time I could not remember the names, the faces, and even the time period that I was in during that time, I vividly remember what had transpired. I replay this in my mind every day, what had happened, so I would not forget. The confusion was there, yes, but I do remember every portion of it. My mind is clear on that. In fact, I even have a picture about Eddie and Yank on my wall so that I would not forget the Vietnam War and what had transpired in Gela. Then I finally ran into Lieutenant Clark after all this had happened, and I asked him, what is the situation? What should I do? I can't find any of my guys. He says, hold tight. headquarters will figure it out. I was very proud to be in the Recon unit. The best of the best were taken away much too early, and we should not forget the soldiers that were killed that day. September 14, 1969, Joseph Mathias, Daniel Ratledge, Jeffrey Johns, Walter Heyer Jr, Tony Scoggins, Charles Becker, Paul Murphy, and Leonard Potts. The only regret I have is I should have contacted Jungle Jim Guthrie earlier so he could kind of confirm what I went through. And a special thank you to Larry Johns, who put all these things together. The whole website, the Gela website, the Big Red One Red site, and also getting everything in motion here to help me and help other veterans to understand what had happened at Gela and during the Vietnam War. Larry Johns is the younger brother of Jeffrey Johns, who was killed with the 8. Thank you, Larry, for bringing this all together and helping everybody kind of work through this. We thank you.